Okay, boys and girls, we're going to have a lesson on powers and exponents today. What is an exponent? An exponent is how many times a number is used as a factor. And just as a review, what is a factor? A factor is two numbers multiplied by each other. A factor times a factor equals a product. Remember that vocabulary? I hope so. And even more new vocabulary. Exponents always have a base and a power. So you always have a base and a power, a base and powers. All right, now let's look at some examples. 5 to the first power is 5. 5 to the second power is, 25. 5 to the third power is, 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Times 5 is 125. 5 to the fourth power is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So here's 25. And then here's another 25. So it becomes 25 times 25, which is 625. 625. So, what then is 5 to the 0 power? Anybody know? So we have, actually, the answer is 1. Oops, I meant to write 1. Any number in the whole wide world, well, except for 0 that is, raised to the 0 power is defined as 1. Can anybody look at these examples here and or look what I wrote here and try to come up with a pattern of why any number to the 0 power is always 1? Watch this. 625 divided by, ooh boy, I want the pen tool here. 625 divided by 5 is 125. 125 divided by 5 gives us 5 to the second power, or 25. 25 divided by 5 gives us 5. 5 to the first power. 5 divided by 5 gives us 1. So it just follows a logical pattern. It has to be, any number to the 0 power has to be 1. Okay, here's another example to prove my point. Let's use multiplication. Let's look at this a minute. 10 to the 0 power is 1. 10 to the first power is 10. Well, 1 times 10 is 10. 10 to the second power is 100. Well, that's because you're timesing by another 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 to the third power is 1,000. Well, 100 times 10 is 1,000. So 10 to the 0 power has to be 1 because it follows a pattern. 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times another 10 is 100. 10 times 100 times another 10 is 1,000. Okay, I think you get my point. Any number raised to the 0 power is always 1. Any number in the world. Thank you. One of the main goals today is to get you to be able to write expressions using exponents. And this is pretty easy. Let me just show you three quick examples. The first one is 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Well, that means the base is 4, and 4 is a factor 5 times, so the exponent then is 5, 4 to the 5th power. Okay, what about something like this? You have negative 6 times negative 6 times negative 6. What does that mean? Well, it simply means our base is negative 6, so we keep our base as negative 6, and then negative 6 is a factor 3 times, so we would write negative 6, and we'd put it in parentheses, wrap it up to the third power, and there's our answer. And finally, what about something like this? Y minus 3 times y minus 3 times y minus 3. What's our base? You all know the base. Y minus 3, and keep it wrapped up in parentheses there. And now, how many times is it a factor? How many times is y minus 3 a factor? 1, 2, 3 times. So it would be y minus 3 to the third power. Real quick here, what if not all your bases are the same? So what if you have different bases? Like, what if you had 5 times R times R times S times S times S times S times S for fun. How would you write something like that? Well, that's no big deal. You just group the factors with like bases. So you have, a couple different bases, but you just write it, write each base and to what power. So 5 to the first power is 5, so we don't even need to include that exponents there. Then we have R to the second power, and then we have S to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, S to the fifth power. So you just write 5 times R to the second power times S to the fifth power, and you'd be done. No biggie, no big thing. And one final concept in this lesson is evaluating expressions. They're going to have you do that a couple times. So let's take a look at a couple examples. So if you have to evaluate an expression such as y to the fourth power when y is equal to 3, then you would simply calculate 3 to the fourth power, which is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. I like to do this. 81. So 3 to the fourth power would be 81. I know you're getting tired of listening to me, but what if there are negative numbers, like the bases are negative and there's powers? So let's say that you have like negative 2 to the fifth power, or you have something like negative 2/3 to the second power. Do you know what that means? Well, it just means negative 2 times negative 2, times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. But you just have to remember your integer rules. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. But then you have this negative 2 on the end, right? So then you'd have 4 times 4 is 16 times negative 2, which would be a negative 32. So negative 2 to the fifth power is negative 32. And then here you'd have negative 2/3 times negative 2/3. Multiply my numerators. Okay, and you know that a negative times a negative is a positive, so it would be 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So negative 2/3 to the second power is 4/9. Does that make sense? So just always write out your bases and how many times they're multiplied by each other, and then that should help you make sure you get the right answer. And you'll start discovering that. I'm giving you some clues. If it's an even number, if it's an odd number, if the power is an odd number, you're going to have a negative product. If it's an even number, you're going to have a positive product. Why? Because two negatives make a positive. So if you have groups of two negatives, you're going to have, a positive answer. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, I think you should be good to go on your own for this lesson. Just do the best you can. And if you have trouble, maybe get with a friend. Remember, any number raised to the 0 power is any number raised to the 0 power, whether it's 2 to the 0 power or 10,000 to the 0 power, is 1. All right, and I think that's it. I think you got it. You're going to do great. Remember, your homework is page, your homework is page, wait. I figured it out. It's page 383 and 384, 2 through 32, evens only. It's due tomorrow. It's due Friday for both pre-algebra B and pre-algebra H, and you'll check it in class at the beginning of class on Friday. So I hope you get it done. You don't want a late grade. Okay, thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.